Time for another chapter of The Witches. Right, as always, Roald Dahl. That's the author. Remember, the author is the person who writes the book. So the person who the ideas are from, the person who actually writes it. The Witches is our title, and our illustrator is Quentin Blake. And remember, an illustrator is someone who draws the pictures. Okay, right. Now, if we remember correctly, we left it off. Grandma or Grandmama went really, really quiet because I keep calling him Bruno because the boy later on in the story is called Bruno. The boy, the grandson, asked her about her thumb. Remember, she's got a missing thumb, and he asked if it was to do with a witch, and she went quiet and she stared off into space, and he couldn't speak to her, and he kissed her goodnight and went upstairs, and she didn't say anything. So we think that maybe, or I think, and I'm hoping you guys are thinking too, maybe her thumb had something to do with the witches and an encounter. That means a meeting with a witch. Ooh, right. Now the next chapter is called The Grand High Witch. Oh, sounds scary. The next day, a man in a black suit arrived at the house, carrying a briefcase like a suitcase for businessmen carrying important documents. And he held a long conversation, so he spoke for a long time with my grandmother in the living room. I was not allowed in while he was there. But when at last he went away, my grandmother came in to me, walking very slowly and looking very sad. "That man was reading me your father's will," she said. "What is a will?" I asked. "It is something you write before you die," she said. "And in it you say who is going to have your money and your property. But most important of all, it says who is going to look after your child if both the mother and the father are dead." A fearful panic took a hold of me. "It did say you, Grandmama," I cried. "I don't have to go with somebody else, do I?" "No," she said. "Your father would never have done that. He has asked me to take care of you for as long as I live, but he's also asked that I take you back to your own house in England. He wants us to stay there." "But why?" I said. So in the will, so before people die, they basically write down what they want certain people to have. So I want this person to have this much money, this person to have this much money, this person can have my jewellery, this person can have my, I don't know, house. Doesn't quite work like that, but yeah, so that's the gist of it. So in your will, you also state who will look after children in the event that something terrible happens to you and anyone else that's a carer. And it sort of lists who would be the next in line to look after the child. So the father and mother has picked Grandmama, obviously, to look after the boy. But on the conditions, so the only way that she can do that is if they go back to England to live. So the father doesn't want his son growing up in Norway. He wants him to grow up in England in his own home. Now, why do you think this would make Grandmama sad? Have a think. Why would this make the grandmother sad? I mean, how would you feel if people you love firstly died, you're looking after their child who you love, but that's a big responsibility taking on a child, and then you get told you have to leave your home to go and look after the child. The home you love. You have to not just leave your home, not just move to a new house, move to a whole new country to live. You'd feel really sad, wouldn't you? It would be a really hard thing to have to happen. So think about why Grandmama is sad. How would you feel if you were in her position? So, what did you do? "But why?" I said. "Why can't we stay here in Norway? You would hate to live anywhere else. You told me you would." "I know," she said. "But there are lots of complications with money and with the house, and you wouldn't understand. Also, it says the will that although all your family is Norway... Also, it said in the will that although all your family is Norwegian," that's people from Norway are Norwegian, "you were born in England, and you have started your education there, your school, education is your school, and he wants you to continue going to English schools. So this does make sense. So English schooling is known or is renowned for being very good. I know that when I worked in Dubai, all the parents there sent their children. I worked in an English school in Dubai, and all the parents sent their children to an English school so that they could get into English universities, because the education in England is supposed to be very good. Now, you are very lucky then that you guys get to go to school in England, because school isn't like how we do it in other countries. So that is why father wants him to stay in England, so he gets an English education. Yeah? Oh, grandmama, I cried. You don't want to go and live in our English house. I know you don't. Of course I don't, she said. But I am afraid I must. The will said that your mother felt the same way about it, and it is important to respect the wishes of the parent. There was no way out of it. We had to go to England, and my grandmother started making arrangements at once, so she started getting the things together she needed to do, sorting out what she needed to. Your next school term begins in a few days, she said, so we don't have any time to waste. On the evening before we left for England, my grandmother got to her favourite subject once again. There are not as many witches in England as there are in Norway, she said. I'm sure I won't meet one, I said. I sincerely hope not, she said, because those English witches are probably the most vicious in the whole world. Vicious, like spiteful. Like if you're vicious, like you'd call a lion vicious, it would spring and bounce. Yeah, so vicious, but a bit scary, a bit ready to pounce at any moment. Would attack you for no reason. That would be vicious. As she sat there smoking her foul cigar, foul means disgusting, remember, and talking away, I kept looking at the hand with the missing thumb. I couldn't help it. I was fascinated by it. Remember, fascinated. Can't take his eyes off it. He's completely drawn in by it. And I kept wondering what awful thing had happened that time when she had met a witch. It must have been something absolutely appalling, terrible, and gruesome, disgusting. Otherwise, she would have told me about it. Maybe the thumb had been twisted off. Or perhaps she had been forced to jam her thumb down the spout of a boiling kettle. Now, you should all know what boiling is because you've all done it in science. Boiling, remember, very, very, very hot. Until it was steamed away. Or did someone pull it out of her hand like a tooth? I couldn't help trying to guess. Imagine that, someone pulling your thumb out of your hand like a tooth. Which one would you think's the worst? Getting it steamed off, getting it pulled off, or getting it twisted off? I think the steamed. I think having to hold it in burning water until it came off, that would be the worst, I think. What do you think? Have a talk to someone. Tell me what those English witches do, Grandmama, I said. Well, she said, sucking away at her stinking cigar. Their favourite ruse is to mix up a powder that will turn a child into some creature or other that all grown-ups hate. Think about it. What creatures do grown-ups hate? Snakes? Rats? I don't know. Cockroach. Oh, everyone hates a cockroach. When you're on holiday and you see a cockroach, everyone just goes crazy, don't they? Don't know if that's ever happened to you. Oh. Some people don't like cats or dogs, do they? Or birds. Some people are really scared of birds. So I just have a think. What could they turn you into that parents would hate? What sort of creature, Grandmama? Often is a slug. Yeah, slugs aren't all that nice, are they? Oh, spiders. People don't like spiders. I do. I love a spider. Often is a slug, she said. A slug is one of their favourites. The grown-ups step on the slug and squish it without knowing it's a child. That's perfectly beastly, I cried. Or it might be a flea, my grandmother said. Oh, yeah, no one likes a flea. Ooh, itchy and jumpy. Ooh, no. They might turn you into a flea, and without realising what she was doing, your own mother would get the flea powder, and then it's bye-bye, you. You're making me nervous, Grandmama. I don't think I want to go back to England. I've known English witches, she went on, who have turned children into pheasants and then sneaked the pheasants up to the wood the very day before pheasant shooting season opened. Because hunters like to go into the wood and shoot pheasants and eat them. They eat pheasants. I'm sure they eat pheasants. Yeah. Ouch, I said. So they get shot, so the witches turn them into pheasants, sneak them up to the woods just before she knows that someone's going on a hunt, so that the people hunt down their own children without knowing it. Those witches are evil. Of course they get shot, she said, and then they get plucked and roasted and eaten for supper. Sorry, I forgot to show you, that was the slug. And then that's the roast pheasant that gets eaten. I pictured myself as a pheasant flying frantically over the men with the guns, swerving and dipping as the guns exploded around me. Yes, my grandmother said. It gives the English witches great pleasure to stand back and watch the grown-ups doing away with their own children. I really don't want to go to England, Grandmama. Of course you don't, she said. Nor do I. But I'm afraid we've got to go. Are witches different in every country? I asked. Completely different, my grandmother said. But I don't know much about other countries. Do you even know about America? I asked. Not really, she answered. Although I have heard it said that over there the witches are able to make the grown-ups eat their own children. Never, I cried. Oh no, Grandmama, that can't be true. I don't know whether it is true or not, she said. It is only a rumour I have heard. A rumour is when you tell someone something and it spreads. So I might whisper to someone, I don't know, Miss Taylor loves cream eggs, because Miss Taylor does. I might say, Miss Crack Taylor likes cream eggs. And someone else might tell someone else, they might tell the next person, Miss Taylor loves cream eggs, Miss Taylor loves cream eggs, and it will spread round. That's a rumour, yeah? So rumours get changed as well. So I might say, Miss Taylor likes cream eggs, and then the next person might say, Miss Taylor is a cream egg. And then the rumour gets round, Miss Dallimore told everyone Miss Taylor's a cream egg. And that's not what I said. Do you see? Yes. So rumours can be bad, but it's a rumour. So we don't know if it's true or not, but the rumour is, the message is that American witches make people eat their own children. Bit gruesome. I went for grim and gruesome then, grew. How could they possibly eat their own children? I asked. By turning them into hot dogs, she said. That wouldn't be too difficult for a clever witch. Does every single country in the world have its witches? I asked. Checking how much is left of this chapter. You know what? I'm going to pause it there. So the boy just said, does every single country in the world have witches? Okay, and then we'll finish the rest another time. Okay, guys, have a nice evening or day or whatever. Bye.